try and impart our children the instincts and the creativity. When a child learns in a fun way and never feels the burden of learning and yet remembers everything that you learn. So the idea is to understand and bridge the gap of learning and not assess the child or his IQ or his intelligence by one sheet of paper. Everything is rapidly changing around us and things are getting obsolete and things are are very getting very dynamic.
Hello and a very warm welcome to Great Principles. I am Seema Choria and I bring to you another insightful session on Great Principles. Joining me in conversation is my very thoughtful educator of the day, Miss Maya Alfred Fernandes. She is principal of the Downtown School, Guwahati. Welcome to Great Principles, ma'am. I'm really honored to have you with me today.
Thank you, it's a privilege. Thank you so much.
Ma'am, today we'll be discussing a lot on transforming education and how what things to be done. But before that, let us understand a little about you. What motivated you to be an educator? What has been your once upon a time like? Let's hear it from you.
Well, this is a very interesting story and a longer one, but to cut short, I actually embraced the teaching field accidentally. I'm an army wife. My husband serves the country, and that eventually brought me to a point where I had to choose a career, and education, or rather teaching, was one of the easiest and the best possible option at the location that he was posted. And that's how my journey began. And I did not realize it, but suddenly teaching became my ikigai. Something that I really enjoyed, and that motivated me to get my degrees in place, because otherwise I come from a commerce background with an MBA degree in human resources, which was like totally away from the teaching scenario. But once I started teaching, I fell in love with the profession. And like I always keep teasing my colleagues that I'm a teacher by passion and choice and not by education. So that is how was my once upon a time. That's how I started my journey into teaching.
Wonderful. And since I interview so many educators every day, each one of them tell me that once we are in this field, there is no looking back. We just love this profession and we just don't want to change it. So is it the same goes with you?
Absolutely. Like I said, teaching has become my ikigai.
Guy,
I
yeah.
have I have had the privilege of going to the nooks and corners of our country, thanks to my husband. And everywhere I go, I understand that it's a magic. A classroom at one place is never the same classroom at the other place, and every day as a teacher is a learning experience, and that really fascinates me tremendously to be in this field.
So, if I may ask you, which is your proudest moment of being an educator, which would be that?
Well, there's so many. I mean, I just can't really figure out just like one or two. But I think recently on the Teachers' Day, I had a call from one of my very old student. I had taught her somewhere around in 2014, 15. And the girl is growing up to be a beautiful woman now. And she called up and she said that, ma'am, interestingly, we never realized that you were teaching us, and yet we remember everything that you taught us. I mean, I think what more a compliment a teacher wants when a child learns in a fun way and never feels the burden of learning and yet remembers everything that you learn. So that is one moment that really gave me that aha feeling. And of course, recently I have been bestowed with the APJ Abdul Kalam National School Principal Award, which is a huge responsibility, I understand, but it feels nice, of course.
Certainly, very well said that when you get any recognition, it doesn't just comes with appraisals, it also brings in more responsibility that now this is the benchmark that you have set in and now you have to, excel your own self and move ahead. So,
True.
yes, there is a lot in this field. It's a very demanding field because you constantly have something or the other going on in your mind. So, how do you manage your work-life balance? Many times I've heard this, especially from the children of educators, that they don't have time for us. They have so many children. We are not just two or one of for them. they have so many of them. So how do you manage this work life balance?
Well, interestingly, I'm a child-free woman, and it's by choice. I have decided to be a child-free woman, not childless, child-free, and it's a choice, and I've advocated it. I have a fantastic partner who's very supportive, so that being taken care of. I have always noticed, right from the time that I had taught grade two children to grade 10 to grade 12, that it is very important for a teacher to be happy. One unhappy teacher is equal to 120 sad children going home that day. And that is one thing that I take care of personally. I generally try and keep myself happy, and the best way to do it is to keep learning new skills. So every year I set a target for myself. Say, okay, like this year I want to learn guitar, or the next year I probably might enroll myself in salsa. I don't know, but learning a new skill gives me happiness, is what I have realized, and it is also something that stimulates your mind and keeps you young. So that is one thing that I feel is helping me to balance my work and my personal life very well, and I encourage my teachers also to do the same thing.
Absolutely. Otherwise life becomes so monotonous every time, every
Monotonous.
day doing same and same thing. But when you learn a new skill, you also feel that yes, I've accomplished something. And then
True.
when you get this growth feeling, then there is no looking back. And this is
True.
what even our teachers want. If they have been given the right kind of growth, they would certainly stick to the same organization, giving their best. And I think, ma'am, you have already started this being a true leader. You have already started pushing your teachers to acquire new skills and any skill. I mean, it is not related to their career, but in fact, for their personal life also, for
Yes.
anything which makes them feel good, right?
Yes, true, very true, yes indeed.
So let us now, on this lovely note of encouraging everyone and going ahead with the team, let's start a rapid fire round. So, ma'am, here you need to answer me in
Oh,
one word or a single sentence. Yeah?
oh, that's thing I'm going to try. Yes.
All right. So here comes my very first question to you. One thing that should be changed immediately in our education system.
Assessment systems.
Nothing could be better answer than this. Agreed completely. Coming to my next question. What is that one thing about you which many people do not know?
That I'm very emotional and get very attached to my children. Each child in my school is a special child for me.
Okay. If you were to invite three people at your place for lunch or dinner, who would be those top three people in your life?
Honestly, I would really love to have some young minds to influence my children. So probably Neeraj Chopra is somebody whom I would really like to meet and figure out what goes in his head when he actually throws the javelin. And apart from that, I have really been inspired, or really been, in awe of Usain Bolt, because I think it needs a lot of discipline to reach where he has reached. So that is another sports person again that I would like to. And Sudha Murthy ji, I think she is one lady who's so silently creating a world which is so beautiful for all of us, through her stories, through her charity or whatever. So I would love to meet her someday for sure.
Lovely choice of people, I must say. Great. So, this shows me that you have a keen interest in sports also when you call upon these people. So, what is that you do when you're not working? What are your hobbies?
Well, I was running marathons for a few years before a small injury that made me stop running marathons. But apart from that, I love to drive alone. I've just come back from a solo trip to Tawang. I drove all by
Wow.
myself to Tawang from Guwahati, and it was a wonderful therapeutic trips. I love to go solo and travel and drive around solo. So that is one thing that I enjoy the most when I'm not working.
Wow, great. So, ma'am, these excursion, like you go on a solo trip, and that is therapy for you. So, what do you think that we should have these small excursion for our students also, and how the travel with their peer can encourage more learning experience, can enrich the learning experience?
Absolutely. Absolutely. Like I have traveled far across, and there are countries, like I remember my one of my trips in Africa where I was backpacking. I had a bunch of school students over there, and what they were doing was they wanted to do the bungee jumping, and I was also waiting for my turn for the bungee jumping, and we were having those discussions together. And the kids were like trying to manage money. It was $100 one jump, And I said, how are you managing it? And they said that we work in a farm of the owner of this bungee jump. The bungee master has a small farm, so we work there, and he gives us food and stay, and he gives us some allowance. And that allowance is what we have gathered together, and we are doing a bungee. And it's not that the children were from a society where they could not afford that, but that was a
True.
fantastic learning experience. And look at the camaraderie. I mean, they were all together, they were all enjoying themselves together, they were all learning together. So I highly recommend that such kind of excursions are very much important, not just for the children but even for the parents. Just go solo.
Right. Absolutely. So, moving ahead to my next question. According to you, what should be ideal school hours every day for the child to develop holistically?
Well, when you say school, we are now encompass, like, for example, the downtown school that I work with is a premium day boarding school. So we have activities, we have, classes for their own passions. We have a nap room, which is a very unique feature of our school. Like anybody in my school, whoever wants to sleep or take a nap is permitted to go to the nap room, right from the teachers to the staff to the support staff. Like, because I strongly feel that that is something that should not hinder the learning. So when we're talking about school hours, if you're looking at the study part, I think approximately 4 hours a day are decent enough for having the teaching learning session of academics. But if you look at the activities and the co-curricular entertainment that the child needs and the holistic development of the child, I think a good 6 7 hours of a school is a wonderful timing. Yes.
Absolutely, ma'am. Moving ahead to my next question. Last night only, I received a text from my friend that do you know any counselor who can deal with exam pressure? So, ma'am, we would like to know from you a tip for our dear parents how they can relieve the exam pressure. And I really don't know from where does this pressure builds up in the students of today, the exam pressure. So, advice from you.
Well, I'm no person to advise per se, because whatever little experience I have had, I think we have just make a hue and cry of the examinations. The CBSC, the NEP, NFC, everybody keeps telling us that examinations are not to assess the learning, or rather the IQ of a child. It is to assess that how far we have been able to deliver the learning to the child. So technically, like for in our school, we call it teaching learning assessment, and we don't call it examinations, because it is also an examination, or if I want to say examination, it is also a test that how better my teacher has been able to convey the concepts. Like, for example, in our school, we have a child who is unable to write for certain medical reasons. So we don't have a written examination for him. We have an oral examination for him. Because the idea is to understand and bridge the gap of learning and not assess the child or his IQ or his intelligence by one sheet of paper. So I think the first thing that the parents should do is, stop giving so much importance to examinations and marks. Play it down for the child, because what's the point of scaring a child? No fun. So that would be my advice.
Very true. And along with that, my dear parents, stop labeling the child also. Many a times we just label the child, you don't know anything, you are good for nothing, you're useless. So all these words, they're very harsh words and they actually have a very long impact on the child. Long
Oh,
term
yes.
impact is there. So please don't label your child. He's himself in his own identity, comfortable, whatever he's going to do, he is definitely going to make something for his living. Now we'll have some
Absolutely.
very quick and fast questions with you, ma'am. So tea, coffee, or what else is your elixir of the day?
T, always a T.
A tea person, all right. Movies, podcasts, or series? What interests you the most?
Definitely not the series, movies. I would go for the movies.
Okay. Which Bollywood star is your favorite?
Well, judge me if you want, but it's Mr. Khan, Salman Khan.
Salman Khan, all right. So Salman Khan fan. Okay. Any favorite movie which you'd like to name here and which encourage, which also gives entertains you as well as help you to overcome your own obstacles?
Yes, there's a beautiful movie called A Little Boy. It's a story of a small boy who's waiting for his father, and it's one of the finest movie. And I encourage all my children to watch that movie. at least once. So yes, that is one movie of hope, of faith, that really encourages me.
One thing from the past that you would like to bring in, from the past student life that you would like to bring in current students' life.
I think the friendship,
Yeah.
because we didn't had the distractions of mobiles and video games, so we were really friends through thick and thin. So I think that part, yes.
Okay. The last question in this round. The most important skill every student must acquire before they enter into the job world or they become an entrepreneur or stand on their own feet.
Well, I think cooking.
Cooking.
I strongly suggest everybody to learn how to cook.
Wow, great. So it was great to hear you in this section. Now we have reached to the last question of the show. This is also called the expert talk question. So, ma'am, here I would like to discuss something about how things have changed. Like when we were students and now when these kids are there, you are having so much experience of so many years. Now it's no more the millennial era that we can just continue the way we were. Everything is transforming, especially COVID. It has changed the education scenario. It has brought in technology, but there is still much need to transform the education, especially in this kind of the VOCA world. By VOCA, my dear viewers, we mean volatile, uncertain, complex, and ambiguous world. And I'm sure each one of you would agree with me today because we have seen how things stopped during the pandemic. So, ma'am, let's hear it from you how we can transform the education so that our children can survive in this uncertain world.
Well, okay, let me start with a small story if the time permits. Mr. Albert Einstein made a question paper for his students, and one of his assistants noticed that he had made the same question paper that he had given last year. And he pointed out to Mr. Einstein that, you have just done exactly the previous paper, and you're trying to, examine them on the same previous paper that you had last year. So Mr. Einstein looked at the paper and gave it a thought and said that, yes, the questions are same, but the answers have now changed. This is a profound example of how everything is rapidly changing around us, and things are getting obsolete, and things are, are very getting very dynamic. I mean, who knew that being a vlogger would be a profession by itself, and that being a bank manager would be a redundant profession by the time our children grow up. So yes, so what I feel is that we should stop fighting the technology as teachers. We should try and understand that it is going to stay, and it is going to help us to provide the learning that is required in a faster, better manner. But that does not mean that we are obsolete. We cannot be obsolete as teachers, as educators. So we need to embrace the technology, and we need to make use of it the way we want to use it. And the best way to do it is, to try and make our children, or rather to try and impart our children the instincts and the creativity, because knowledge is available with them on the fingertip. We don't, I mean, how I learned how to eat with chopsticks with just looking at a YouTube video. So knowledge is available everywhere, but what is important is we teach them what to pick and what not to pick, and how to sharpen their instincts and creativity to go through this, because we don't know what jobs are going to come in the future, or what jobs are not going to exist in the future. So the best way is we polish their decision making, we polish their instinct, and we polish their creativity. And for that, we need to understand that the old techniques of teaching, where there was exchange of knowledge, are no more required. What we need to do is inquire, you know uh, ask questions ourselves as educator, do our own research and homeworks, okay, and then present that same curiosity, or transfer that same curiosity to our children. So I think that would be something that I would suggest, or that is what something that I encourage my teachers in the school to do, that let's have a experiential platform of learning. You experience, and you pass on that experience to the child, and that is how the learning will happen in a better way.
Well, ma'am, I think that is what all is education all about, right?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree.
Yes, I agree that the world has changed. Everything is become, and in fact, even when you talk of 1980s, I think VOCA term somewhere was started in the
Evolved.
1980s somewhere.
Yes.
Yeah, it was evolved that time. But since then and even today, the word education, the meaning and the crux of the education remains the same. We send our children so that they can be prepared for the world ahead. And
Ahead.
yes, you
Yes.
rightly said, according to the changes which is coming in the environment, we need to adapt that changes and ensure that our teaching is transformed and evolved simultaneously. Then only
Yes.
we can help these children. So this is what ma'am went when she was telling, when she was explaining how we can help our children for the world which is so uncertain. So, ma'am, very beautifully explained, and there is so much from you to learn for all our dear educators, for all our teachers, and all our viewers also. It was
Thank
thoroughly an insightful conversation, and I'm sure with educators like you, our children definitely have a wonderful future ahead. So, Maya ma'am, thank you so much for your time. I truly
thank you
appreciate
so
your
much.
time with us, and thank you for being on our show.
Thank you so much, Seema ma'am. Thanks a lot. Pleasure talking to you.